What up, Copper family? So glad you're here. And Scott, man, appreciate you being here on Easter weekend, Easter Sunday. That means a lot to me.
Absolutely, man. Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
You're always
And
just
hello,
grinning.
everyone. And hello, everyone.
You're always just grinning. You're always just so happy. It's kind of refreshing.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad.
I'd
hate to be that guy that's just like,
hey, that's what I was just about to say. It's like I'll go on my replays and I'll be listening. And I'm like, I'm happy. I don't know why I'm not smiling. It's just, yeah. Anyway, I appreciate you coming. You have a good weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had a really good weekend. It was a busy weekend with Good Friday and having gone out to dinner with like my wife's family up north, and then coming back for Easter Sunday. It was just a super busy weekend, but it was a good weekend, a really good weekend. How was your weekend? You said you were saying that you went to some beard competition.
Yeah, we went to a so just me. So there was the 5th annual uniform beard competition. It's helping I can't remember the charity, don't get me wrong, but we donated everything that we made there to them. And awesome. It was it was about recovering, men and women who come from war, come from the armed services, and then their struggle with PTSD and stuff like that. So we were that the whole venue there was to support that and continuing man, it's going to drive me crazy. I don't have it. I had it just a second ago, but it was really cool, and I'm grateful to experience. There were some, like I was telling you, I never wanted to do a beard competition. I'm proud of who I am. But I'm just like, this isn't a beard competition beard. You know what I mean? It's just, this is what I have. And after going there, I'm like, yeah, this would be fun, because there were some beards out there that I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? They were just there to have fun and support, and that's what it's all about.
You're like feature sponsor.
Dude, there was one that he won the nationals, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and he went in Richmond, Virginia, when it was there.
Oh wow!
And his beard, holy cow! Like it was thick and it went all the way down to his belt, and I'm just like, dude. And he said there's like 3 guys who came to compete, and they're like, F that. And then they hurried and just left because they didn't want to compete again. I'm like, okay.
They drove like 4 hours to come to this event. They're like, you know what? I'm just gonna get some chicken wings. I'm just gonna go home. I'm just gonna take.
No.
Am I gonna stay? No.
There were people from Washington. There were people from all over the country that came to compete. It was fun.
What?
That's crazy. And some of the competitors, one guy thought he was absolutely going to win and didn't, and it was fun to watch.
Wow. I saw someone on I think it was the Command's corner, but it was their Facebook group, and one of the guys who posted, it was like, I went Easter egg hunting with my grandson, but his beard was just like what you were describing, just out and then down.
And they are like you. They are like the nicest people in the world, and they would seriously. I met so many good people, and it was really fun. And because of that, we're going to go sponsor an event in June, and then we're going to go to Casper and hang out with those guys in the Nationals.
Cool.
It's going to be fun. So, but anyway, why don't we say hi to everyone? They're all here to support you.
Oh well, I gotta say cheers to Mr. E Rock. Thank you, brother. And cheers on the coffee. I love it. What kind of cup of coffee are you drinking? I'm drinking. Well, this is my proud sponsor.
Oh, nice. And where's your straw? Where's your straw?
Well, it's my French press. I remember
it didn't look like that.
It looked like a straw. It looked like a wooden straw.
Yeah, I was like, dude, that's a wood.
I'm one of those granola type of people. Instead of using paper, I'm just using a wood straw, not a metal straw. That's ridiculous. But good evening, everyone. Super stoked that you guys are here. Casey, I think, was telling. He said, "Continue mission." I think is what you were
continuing mission. That's what it is. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Casey. Great.
At least Casey's on top of this thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, I had to tell him what happened and everything, so I was texting. I knew it. Ellie, how you doing? Travis, Nick, hope you're doing well.
What's up, everybody?
You got Steven Jason, I hope you're doing well, man. That's like I said, Jason just lost his pet, his family member, his
Oh, I'm
puppy,
sorry.
and I was telling him that was one of the hardest things and I still go through it. We had a little dog, little Chihuahua that meant a lot to my daughter and to our family, but
Yeah.
he saved my daughter's life when she was going through that rough time, and it was hard to see
Oh
him go.
wow. Yeah, it's so interesting, how I know for me, we had we had a pet one time, and like we had him for like 15. Actually, no, I think my dog was like 16 years old. He should have
Uh-huh.
lived. He should have stopped, but he kept going. But it's weird, right? How an animal like a pet, although it's not the same as the person, it's like there is an emotional tie to it. That you're like, it's just sad to say goodbye because their presence is gone,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a real thing. And even like what you were saying with your daughter, just having got you through a rough patch, like it's just so amazing how animals can have that impact on us, right? In a good way. But it's hard. It's tough.
Dude, so his name was Tank, and he was a member of our family. He was, and dude. He got hit by a car. We went to Disneyland, and
Oh,
the neighbors were watching him, and he got out of their backyard and trying to make it back home,
oh,
and got ran over. It killed us.
that's terrible. That's
But anyway,
terrible.
why don't we?
I love the name though, Tank. It makes me think of that show Life in Pieces. Have you seen this show?
I have it.
Okay, so it's Josh Brolin's dad is the grandpa in this show. It's hilarious. It's such a funny show. But the dog's name is Tank.
Oh, really?
And it's like a tiny little like cockadoodle.
That's
Like
why I
yeah.
named him.
Yeah. So when you said that, I was like, oh, it reminds me of Tank from that show. It's so good.
Well, Scott,
So
why don't you
good.
tell us? You seem like everything you post is very uplifting, very kind, and it's also you always post amazing things of your children and your wife. You just seem like you have it together. So, why don't you tell us a little about your family, a little about your kids, and a little about you and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Well, I would love to say I have it all together, but I don't. But I have just been I'm just thankful to the Lord really for um, just the life that He honestly, like the people He's brought into my life. And, my wife is honestly like, she's my rock. She is an amazing woman. Yeah. Every guy's like, yes. And, but no, she's just amazing. We've been together for 3 years, been married for 3 years. We were dated for about a year and then got engaged for a year and then we got married. So we've been married for 3 years. And yeah, we've been very thankful and fortunate that we've been able to have kids right away. That was something that my wife and I were really, we just really wanted to have happen right away for us was having kids. And so we started having kids. Our firstborn, his name is Judah, and he's just a absolute gem. He's really taking a fascination to drums, which is again, I don't know if you guys can see in the back here. I have drums. I'm a drummer, so I'm playing on the worship team or just in general. I just always enjoy drumming.
That's way cool.
And yeah, so Judah is just full on invested in drums. He's carrying around little drumsticks with him, like what I did when I was a kid. So it's hilarious. And our second born, his name is Titus, and he's just oh man, he's just so full of joy. Like you think I smile a lot, this kid never stops smiling. So it's like it's amazing. And he's only 3 months old, which is also pretty crazy to think of how like expressive he is. And he's just as one person pointed out, they're like he's like a little jelly bean, he's just so thick. And but he's just like so content and happy. So
Hey, Michael.
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, that's really cool. So you sound like a lot like me and Candace. When we got married, it'll be 20 years in November, and
Wow.
yeah,
Congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been very blessed. And her and I got married, and seriously, about 7-8 months later, we're like, do we want to be young parents, or do we want to be old parents? What do we want to do? And she always wanted a large family. I wanted a medium-sized family. She won.
And, I thought you would say medium was 6 and large for her would be like 12 or something.
No, I wanted 3 to 4 and she wanted 6, and we got 6.
Nice.
And
wow.
But they say when like when it's done, you're done with kids, and right after that we're like, we're done and zero issues. and we've been blessed. But yeah, that reminds me of me and Candace a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's honestly the thing for us is like we had no idea how quick it would take. Like honestly, like we got married in June and we were pregnant by September. So
Oh
like it was
wow.
just like it was like 3 months into our marriage and and we were like, whoa. But we had no idea, right? We knew a lot of people, like close friends of ours, who had a struggle getting pregnant, and that's a reality for a lot of people. So we're like, oh, we might as well start trying and see what happens, and here we are. Like so, Casey,
And
I
you
had
wouldn't
no
change
idea.
it, right?
No, I wouldn't change it for the world. I really wouldn't. Casey, I'm gonna say no to 12. I will not have 12. I think for me, my max is probably 4. I think that's the same as my wife's. But at the same time, you're kind of like, you never know. You never know, right? Like, I don't know if you've heard the Tyson. You've probably heard this joke from Jim Gaffigan. Have you ever heard of Jim Gaffigan before?
Oh yeah, of course I know. Hot Pocket guy.
Yeah. Well, Hot Pocket.
That's what.
So good.
Hot Pockets.
Hot Pocket. But he's like, when he says he has when you have a kid, everyone starts cheering, like, oh, that's so amazing. You have 2, and they're like, oh, that's great, and then 3, and then they're just like, why do you keep going, and are you okay? And then what is it, his punchline is like, what's it like having 4 kids? And it's like, well, it's like you're drowning and then someone throws you a baby.
Someone throws you a baby. It's so true.
Cracks me up every time because I'm like, I'm not there yet, but I can understand from people that I know that have 4 kids. They're like, it's chaos.
Seriously, as they're getting older and teenagers, like my son, he went to prom last night. My daughter went to prom last night. She went with a guy from Spain. He's a foreign exchange student. So he asked her. He can't drive because he's a foreign exchange student, doesn't have a license. So my wife drove him around everywhere. I'm still at the beard competition. So then she has to find someone to take my son to his work, and he's 14, and it's an amusement park here called Lagoon, and he's working there. And then there's a family party. So then my in-laws came and picked up my smaller ones to go to the family party. And then we're all playing this thing after I get done with the competition. It was fun. It was, dude, it's no joke. You're drowning and then they throw you a baby. That was like, yeah, that's about
it. and you've got like the different age brackets, right? So you got like high school kids, and you've got like the junior high age.
My youngest is in 3rd grade.
Oh, man, that's wild.
Yeah,
that's
9
wild.
years apart from oldest to youngest. But Jason, I didn't know you had 5.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. I know one person. I know one person who has 10. I know one person who has 10 kids. Yeah, like, and it's honestly that it seems crazy, but it's like they just make it work. I mean, like it's running a bus, like it's like they actually drive like I think like a giant like 12-seater, one of those like what do they call them, like the air buses, the ones that pick you up to take you to the airport. Like it's one of those things.
It's so sad, but that sounds like heaven.
Yeah, but they make it work. They make it work, and I don't know. Like at that point, the older ones are taking care of the younger. You're fine. You've got it. You got it.
So the airport was selling one of their shuttles for like 10 grand, and it had like 280,000 miles on it, but they take care of it. It's all this. And my son's like, Dad, should we get it? And we all thought about it because I'm like, actually, that'd be really nice. But anyway,
I can't imagine parking those things. I feel like you'd have to be that guy that parks in the very last parking lot that's like, a 10-minute walk from the store. You're just like, I gotta be that guy. I'm gonna be that guy.
You really something like some of those trucks, man, that you see driving around here. That's what they do. They have to park in Timbuktu to be able to get anywhere,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
You seem super genuine, super kind, and very, very thankful.
Yeah.
So I want, what besides your wife and your kids, what are you most thankful for?
honestly, today, right? Like today is prime reason for, I think, a lot of my happiness, right? Is, you know, I became a Christian when I was 19 years old. And ever since I became a Christian, I've had just this joy. I'm not saying that it's been ever, you know, it's been like a roller coaster, right?
Mhm.
It's so it's been all over the place. But I think for me, that's where my joy comes in, um is knowing my King, is knowing my Lord, and having a relationship with Jesus has just been the thing that brings me the most joy, right? And in this life, and today's just another prime example of that. So yeah, like the things that you see me posting about, it's you know, my life has changed because of that, and how I see people and how I care for people. Um, it's because of Jesus that I'm this way, you know. So for me, that's what brings me my most joy, you know. And he's up here, Emily is like right here.
You know, and the
She
thing
knows I
that
love her. She knows I love her.
oh yeah, yeah, I know she knows.
Oh
You're
yeah.
you're a great husband and a great father.
Well, I
But
appreciate that.
that's I would agree. I think a lot of people, no matter what religion you are, whether you're um, you know, like Muslim or whatnot, you believe in a God, and believing that gives you values, and if you live those values, you are happy. And I think what you said was resonates with lots of us. So I appreciate you saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I appreciate that. It means a lot.
Yeah. Um, yeah, we'll talk later off screen. And I want to talk to you about some other things. So what so what makes you unique? Let's talk about
That's a,
this. What
go
makes you
for
unique?
it.
What makes you unique first in beard content, because you are a beard content creator? What makes you unique due to your Christianity? What makes you unique as a father, and what makes you unique as a person?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Dagan?
Dag, what's up, man? Um, yeah, honestly, I think for me, when it comes to beard content, I don't know. It's I feel like for most of my reviews that I've done, which was really interesting because when I started doing reviews on Instagram, I actually had no idea that anyone was even doing this. Like I honestly had no idea, and I got a lot of my inspiration from this one channel I really enjoy watching. It's called Unbox Therapy, and basically they are just, you know, they're Canadian guys, basically out in like Mississauga, which is like kind of like just about like 30 minutes outside of Toronto, and they basically just unbox tech. That's all they do. And the guy on there, you know, he's kind of have a little bit of the same kind of personality as him. And my buddy actually told me, he's like, you should do that. Like you should just do that for like beard stuff or something. I don't know. And I was like, that sounds like a great idea. Because I had
Mm-hmm.
been doing videos for my youth group. So I was very familiar with how to edit videos and speak in front of a camera. So I was like, I could probably do it. And then I started watching channels like, you know, Dan's channel and then Ken's channel. I think Scuba, I watched a little bit of his stuff. And yeah, for me, I just stood in front of the camera and just started recording. So you guys can actually go see those videos on my IG, because they're not up on YouTube yet. Because I only started going on YouTube about maybe a year and a
Oh,
bit
that's
ago.
it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I
been a
thought it
slow
was longer
process.
than that.
Yeah, maybe it's longer. Maybe it's 2 years. I can't remember.
Hmm.
But anyway, so like for me, it's just like I always want to try and do something different. So like if it's like, you know, I think one of my videos that I did about like the heated beard brush or something, you know, and I added a little bit of like that Casey Neistat influence I have, where it's like, you know, add like a B-roll shot of you making coffee. It's a random thing, but it's like it just changes. It kind of tells a story, right? So for me, I think what makes me unique is that I'm not just set on this is how I want my all my videos to look. It's like I always want to just change things up a bit. Like again, like I'm a drummer, so repetition is always key for us. But we also do like to change things up a little bit, and that's just kind of my personality to it. So, but yeah, I feel like every video kind of changes here and there, and I'm starting to get a little bit better, I think, at B-roll. I mean, like I don't have all the gear. Like I make everything up as I go. Like I think one of my videos I just recently did for Alley Cat, I did a really fast, you know, zoom in and a fast zoom out and it's like I had a towel on my camera and I just did that.
Oh,
So I didn't have like, any of like these stabilizers or anything like that. Like my softbox, I made it. Like, so I'm just trying to like, I think what's unique about my stuff is that I'm kind of dadding this thing, like where it's
yeah.
just like you got a project and you just build it from scratch and just make it work. So, and I also don't really promote as much of my channel. Not because I don't want to. It's just I just want it to grow naturally. Like if you
Hmm.
like my channel because you like the content, awesome. And if you want to promote it. And we'll just take it one step at a time. So, but yeah, that's kind of like the content side of thing. I guess what makes me unique with my faith or and how it impacts me as a dad is and as a husband, all that kind of stuff is realistically like, it's just like I just look at my savior is one who influences me to treat my wife the way that I am supposed to treat her. And it's not easy and I'm never perfect at it. But I think my relationship with Jesus really does help me be the man that he wants me to be, right? To be the husband that he sees me to be, and also the father that he sees me to be. And honestly, it's a crazy thing how your spouse sharpens you so much, and your children also do the very same thing. Like I don't know if
Hmm.
you can probably reflect on that. Like, you have 6 kids, right? Each one of them is
Yeah.
different, and but you notice like, oh, why did I get so frustrated in that moment? Oh, it's because I'm losing my patience instead of being kind to my and it's just and all these things kind of come to your head. And I think that's how God has really sharpened me and really helped me so much in my walk with him is honestly through my spouse, but also too through my kids. And yeah, I think just what makes me unique is just that, my relationship with God, if it's affected, it really does affect everything else, right? So he's really just at the center of everything that I do. So,
I like how you said he sharpens, and I would definitely agree with
yeah,
I've learned to better parent because of open communication with my family, my kids, my
huge.
wife, and like also I can notice that if I say Isaac, go mow the lawn, but Dad, I'm like
Yeah,
Isaac, you can't go on a date, you can't go do this, you can't do that unless the lawn gets mowed, and like that's
yeah,
your job, that. Fine, and then he'll go do it. He won't want to do it, but he'll go do it. If I did that to my daughter, oh, in her room for a whole day, just crying like, "Why does my dad hate me?" And I'm like, okay, so you just learn how you have to like parent better and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
And you actually talks like, "Hey, so how do I actually went to my oldest daughter. I'm like, "Hey, how do I need to communicate with you when things need to get done? What's best for me to do?" Because I'm like you have a choice, obviously, but you will get the consequences if you don't do this. So how
yeah,
do I relay that in not a nicer way, but in a way that doesn't upset you? And I've learned how to
yeah,
do that.
yeah. And honestly, even right now with our son, like some people may be like, "Are you crazy?" But like our son is, he's almost 2 years old. What's up, Mark? How are you, man? And if I missed anyone in the chat, I'm super sorry. I'm just so fixated on this conversation. I'm trying to do 2 things at once here, and drink a coffee at the same time. But it's interesting because like even with Judah, he has he's in that they call it the terrible twos. I don't like these names that we give to stages
Terrible
because
twos.
it's
Just
just
wait for threes. Threes are
yeah.
worse.
And then it's like, oh, like my favorite is when you're like, oh yeah, he's kind of a handful right now, like just a off comment, and then they're like, oh, well, just wait till they're teenagers. And it's like,
Hmm.
ah, man, you make parenting sound so horrible.
Yeah,
But I totally get it. I totally get it with working with teenagers. I understand. But I
it's
remember
the
like,
hormones. It really does change them. But tell you
well,
what,
yeah,
so
and
much fun to do stuff with them.
and it's like, your brain is just developing. There's so much
Hmm.
curiosity, like, and also too, it's just you're just at that stage where like you're just learning all these things, right? And
Hmm.
it's a hard process to um in a lot of ways, it's like for parents, I feel like we want to have control, right? Like we want our kids to be a certain way, which is fantastic. Um, but you gotta like it's like that walking process, you know, like you gotta walk with them and help guide them to be that person that
Hmm.
you would want them to be, right? Like I think Mark said a while back, and I really like it what he said. He says, I don't want my kids to be a better version of me because that sets them up for failure, because that's a person that they have to either they have to be like. And if they
I
can't
remember that
be like
comment.
me, that yeah, and that stuck with me. That really did, because I was like, that's so true. Like I don't want my son Judah or my son Titus to be like me. I want them to be themselves. But I also, in the same way, I think how God sees us, he sees the version of us that he wants us to be, right? And it's like, and my job as a father is really just to help lead him to be that person
Hmm.
that God sees him to be. And so, but I remember, Jude was having he was having a moment, and he wasn't, wasn't paying attention, or he wasn't, he wasn't listening. So I gave him a timeout. And he's like 2 years old. So we're just trying to slowly instill this into him. And I remember just sitting down with him and thinking, buddy, like I love you, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I love you. And I'm like, and it just clicked in my head, like I'm like, wow, that's what God does with me, and
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, I get it now. I get it. You don't do this to punish me. You do this because you love me. I get it, and then I'm like Judah. I'll be like 2 seconds over doing something else, so, but yeah, man.
Dagan, don't mind at all, buddy. Like you're a good friend. He just hopes you don't mind putting me this out there. But whoever comes over to my live after Tyson, I will not be going live. Tonight's guest will be on May 1st.
Very nice,
So we
Dag, and I
might go a
hope
little
that
over.
Dig and your show is going well. It seems that a lot of people are doing lives now. It's amazing.
Yeah, I purposely end not early. I end right on time so that everyone can go over there and so
Oh, that's
I want to
awesome.
support all of us to support each other. But
Oh, that's
going
good.
back to the
Good
family,
stuff.
I'm sorry, this intrigues me. My dad has 2 doctor's degrees in family counseling and
Oh,
child
that's
development.
awesome.
I've learned a lot from him. Like I don't have any education on it, so this is just me, just as a parent of 6 children in different stages of life.
Yeah, yeah,
But like when I said, I asked them, how am I supposed to parent you? It's not where I'm like, hey, no, like they get to choose what they do and what they don't do. It's nothing like that. It's more of
yeah,
kind of what you were talking about. Is like it's my job to teach you the values that I have that I feel that are very, very important to me, whether it be
yeah,
my belief in God or whether it be my belief in you being hard workers or being positive outlook, and not looking at everything in a negative way, but also help them with, like my daughter going on a date. Okay, let's
yeah,
talk, all this kind of stuff. And
yeah,
it's important to me that they just know about life, and I steer them in the direction where I feel like it's going to be most valuable, and so that they don't fail. But if they fail, they know we're here, because
yeah,
they are going to fail. They are going to have
yeah,
hard times. They are going to
hmm,
have those times where they come home from school crying because someone hurt their feelings.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And you're there
yeah,
to love them and all that, but just say, hey, this is part of life, and this is what happens, and
yeah,
suck
yeah.
it up. No,
Yeah,
I don't know.
and it's such an interesting thing too, right? Because you learn it even within like like our premarital, before Emily and I got married. One of the things that we started helping in our communication with each other was just simply asking each other, like, how, like, if we did something, like, how did that make you feel, right? And it's this interesting thing, because it's just like, sometimes we just want to tell our kids, like, this is what you need to do, instead of just sitting down with them and just listening to them, being like, so why are you feeling this way? Or and just letting them talk. Because I think that's a lot of time too, right? Is students just want to they just want to talk. They don't want to be talked at. And I mean, like, no one really wants to be talked at. But we do want to have our voices heard. And it's so, for you, it's like, yeah, like just being able to sit there with your daughter and talking to her about dating, like those questions, and
Mhm,
you're like, oh dear, like, you get freaked out by it, but at the same time, you can actually be excited because there's trust because she's
mhm.
coming to you, so that's huge. But also too, it's like she wants to ask you questions about dating or about
Yeah,
life, and you're like, all right, let's have a conversation about this. And
yeah.
that's a good thing. That's a good thing, right? Like,
Like I was up until 2 o'clock with my wife and my two oldest kids. After they got home
Oh,
from
that's
the date,
awesome.
we literally spent hour and a half ish talking just to them about their dates, how it was, what they did, and it was just I really enjoyed doing that. And so luckily,
Yeah.
I got to do it because didn't have a lot of Copper John, so I have tons of Copper John stuff, but I didn't do it last night. What's up,
Yeah.
Brian?
That's awesome.
But hey,
Howdy,
we
Mr.
have
Dandy.
other topics. We have other topics. Let's talk about some.
I'm an open book, so just fire away.
So,
fire away.
What you seem like we were talking about, genuine, kind, humble, but you don't necessarily seem like a huge risk taker. So, what are some of the risks, like the significant risks that you've taken in your life?
Oh man.
You're like, I haven't.
I haven't. No. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I think yeah. I'm not really a humongous risk taker. I'm very much the type of person who really just like has to think through things before I actually just jump into it. I mean, like obviously I've learned my lesson a few times in the past. What's going on, Mister? We got Gizzard. That's a sweet
Gizzard
name.
Gary. It is.
Gizzard.
And then we got Mr. Dan.
Gizzard.
How you doing?
Mr. Dan
yeah.
C. I thought Brett. I thought his last name was Burton, and I was like, oh, hey, there's another Burton, but it's Berlin.
On
it's
IG,
Berlin.
it's Bearded Bridge. He's actually him and I have some really good conversations. I like Brett a lot.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, for me, I'm not really like a humongous risk taker. Not because I don't see any value in it. It's just not my. It's not my go-to. I really have to think that I have to think through things really critically before I just go ahead and make that decision. But I don't know, man. That's a tough one. Like risk, taking risks. I guess you can honestly say like the biggest risk I've ever taken is just like, and I know it's gonna sound super strange, but just like, probably like honestly, like, either like getting married or having kids. Like those are all big risks because, not because you don't love your spouse or anything like that. It's just there's all these other things that come with those responsibilities, right? And you can see it as a risk if you want to. But I'd say that probably be my biggest thing is just like, I'm going to be with this one person and she's going to know everything about me. And there's a lot of things that you have to work through. And then when you have kids, you're like, well, that's a big risk because, what happens if you screw up and again, it's all these lies that you keep listening to because at the end of the day, you're going to fail your spouse. You're going to fail your kids, like there's always, it's inevitable, right? It's going to happen. I don't know.
I just cut you off. You just reminded me, and I want to say it. And I apologize for going back to kids, but I think the parenting thing is really something I really enjoy talking about sometimes. And
go for it.
You were talking about you failing as a father, and I've actually had to tell my kids, I'm like, I'm sorry, I lost my temper. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. And or Isaac will say, Dad, can I have some money for gas money? I'm like, buddy, I don't have anything. I'm sorry. I know I need to get better for you, but I had to pay this instead of this. And I'm open with him and stuff like that. And it's humbling as a father when you mess up, but not like physical. Like it's just more of a, why did I say that? There was no reason for me to be upset about that. I'm like, but yeah, I liked what you said there. That's why I had to chime in.
That's okay. It's totally okay. Yeah, and honestly, like I've never really had to take significant risks or anything like that. I think honestly, like some risks that I'd have to take is just, if you have as a youth pastor, you have opportunities where sometimes there's situations that come up that if you don't talk about it, the risk factor is that if you don't talk about something, then it's going to affect that person, right? And so it's kind of a there's risk in both, right? Where it's like if I do this, it's going to be good for them, but it's risky because I could maybe alter this relationship, or I could say something that isn't correct, or it may hurt that person's feelings, even though it's in good intention. It could still. So there's always those risks. If that's what we're kind of thinking of, then I'd say, oh yeah, absolutely. I always take risks on those types of things, but other than that, it's like I'm not really. I see Dan. He says that he's all about the risks.
Yeah.
For me, like my YouTube channel, I don't have any. My life isn't invested into this. Like my life is invested into what I'm doing for the Lord. And so you can say that's a risk, but I don't really see it as a risk. Like, he's got me taken care of. He's fine. And I'm all good. I'm all good. But
So
I don't know.
would you ever quit your job and move to a different, to the United States or to a different part of your country in order to better, because there's a lot of people, and
Oh,
I'm dead
100%.
serious.
There's so many
There's a
people.
lot of people who will not move from their hometown because
Yeah.
that's where they're comfortable. And to
Yeah.
me, it is risky to
Oh, for
move
sure.
across the country. Like Candace and I moved to DC, Washington DC for, and it was a risk, but I'm Candace. We have just Isaac at the time, and we're like, it's the only time we're ever going to do this. It's a
Yeah.
risk, but I feel like
Yeah.
we need to get out and try this. And it was well worth it, but we
Yeah.
learned a lot about the world, so to speak, outside
Yeah.
our little
Yeah.
bubble.
Yeah. To answer that question, absolutely. I look at my in-laws. They were missionaries for an organization called Josiah Venture, and I love hearing the story about them because they had left overseas to go to Poland for like 10 years, and
Oh,
they
wow.
they didn't know the country.
For
They didn't know
10
the
years?
language. They went there for 10 years. So
Holy
my
crap.
wife was born in Canada, and then I think she was 5, or I think she was 4 or 5 when they had gone over. And I look at that and I go, man, like that's a huge risk. A huge risk going to a country that, like, you don't know the language super well, you don't know the culture. Um, you've only been there. I don't think they didn't even have a house at that point. Like, they had nothing. They just
Hmm.
went, and because they just felt like that's where the Lord was calling both of them to go, and to take your family to get on a plane and go overseas. But for us, I'm like, yeah, like, if that's what happens, um, then I'm just going to trust that it's all going to work out, and it always does. It always seems to. Um, but yeah, like, we haven't had to take any huge risks or anything like that. Like, I guess coming back to the family thing, it's like we could have been saving and saving and saving to potentially buy a house, or we were just like, we could start a family and just be renters, and we'll just take that risk. And so I guess I am a risk taker. So I can join Dan C. I can join Dan C, and he'll be proud of me. I am a risk taker.
See, that's a good answer. So some of us, we always hide a little bit of ourselves in the public eye. Like, I would consider you being here right now, you're in the public eye because they're not necessarily with all our friends that are in the chat right now. But later on, there'll be people that don't know me or you, and they will see you, and you're taking a risk on kind of opening up and stuff. But at the same time, you're kind of holding back.
Yeah.
So, what are the things that you wish people understood more about you that you're holding back?
Oh man, that's a huge question. That is a huge question, and I love it. I'm trying to think of something.
No, I love it.
Because there's
And
so many things.
everyone in chat, let us know about your answer too. What are you holding back
Yeah.
from?
Yeah, I don't know. I do have an answer, but I'm just trying to think of how to say it. I
No,
think
I
for
love
me,
it.
it's like, no, I think for me, it's like, I I just really do it. I appreciate people that, because I'm a big words of affirmation person. Like, I love to encourage people. Um, and I always appreciate when people, like, especially like when you do like these videos or something, when they actually share with you,
Hmm.
like, hey, that I really appreciate what you had to say, like, or I get this all the time with, like, with youth ministry and stuff. Like, you never know if you're actually doing something good. Like, it's kind of like, if anyone here is a teacher, uh, we always tend to only hear about the bad things and only hear, the complaining, and that you didn't do this right, you don't do this right. And when you live with that, you start to really believe in it. Like, it's like, oh, I guess I do suck, which
Yeah.
we all do. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's so good just to hear, like, hey, like, I really appreciate what you had to say, or I just really appreciate, man, that you're joyful, or like,
Hmm.
even what you were saying, like, about, like, you're a great dad. And it's like, some days I don't feel like a great dad, but when you say things like that, it's like, oh, I actually do appreciate you as a father of 6 telling me that you think I'm doing an okay job. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
thanks, man. Like that means a lot to me, right? So I really do appreciate when people can just encourage each other, in a really healthy way. I think that's it's just so needed. We just need that encouragement from each other. So
And what I like, what you said is, but again, I'm all about being genuine.
oh, for
Um,
sure.
Something that my dad taught and that I teach my kids is you might not necessarily like an individual or something, but there's always something about that person that you like. And
Yeah.
so when I tell you, you're amazing, that you're humble, you're kind, you're always smiling, they're facts.
Yeah.
And when I relay that information to you and say, this is how I feel about you, I think it means more than someone say, oh, look, I like people who are genuine that way.
Yeah, me too.
There's always something like, you might be the ugliest person in the world, but you might have amazing eyes. And so what you're going to say is, oh my goodness, I love your eyes. You're not going to comment about the rest of the person. Like, they show a baby and you're like, oh, whoa, whoa, wait, let me have my coffee in the morning before you show me that. But they might have amazing eyes. And so you say, I love your eyes.
Yeah,
And
man.
I don't know. I'm always about the genuine thing. I think I love your comments,
Yeah.
man. You're killing
Yeah.
it.
Well, I honestly, I really do think that where it's like, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like when you can, it's kind of like looking at it like in the sense of like, imagine like a blank piece of paper and someone, you say like, what do you see on the piece of paper? And you say nothing. And then you
Yeah.
just draw a dot in the center, right? What are you going to notice the most? You're going to notice that little dot.
Mm-hmm.
And your eyes are going to be so fixated on that. And so I think a lot of the times it's like not just like the enemy, right, wants to instill that on you, right, to see your imperfections and to be like, yeah, but this is like, and just to have you always constantly looking at that. But also too, in general, people like when we only see the bad of a person, it's like, but we also have to see those other things that they do, right? Because honestly, like if all of us were to have our lives being showcased to the entire world, all of us would hide like
Yeah.
in caves. Like
100% agree.
we would all dig holes in the dirt and being like, I don't want to be seen by anybody, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why social media is such a there's good to it for sure. I'm not knocking on that, but there's also that bad side of it too, where it's like you only see that one side of yourself,
Kind of like
and
my wife's family, or not my wife's family. She has a friend. I'm all pointing like you guys know. I'm like, that friend. She has a friend, and their marriage was perfect on Instagram and on
yeah,
Facebook. And they're married.
yeah.
Oh, my husband took me here. Oh, look how great my husband is. They just got divorced, and
Oh,
not
that's
one
sad.
time on
That's sad.
social. Oh, it was horrible. And don't get us wrong.
Mm.
It's just like social media does. You do portray yourself differently on social media than what's in
You
real life.
do, yeah. And I think that's the thing too, right? Is like my wife and I were completely transparent about our own failures, to our friends. Like everyone knows about us, and like I even try to as well too. Like I make if I post about something, or something I've been reflecting on, like I try to be as transparent as I can. And just being mindful, obviously, like you can't go into every single detail. I think that's between you and God for sure, and some
Mm-hmm.
close friends, not for the whole world to see. Um, but I think that's just the thing is that it's like you got to be genuine and be
Yeah.
honest with people, and the thing I would say too is just because you're being honest doesn't mean that you should stay that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't just be like, oh, this is just who I am. No, you don't have to be. Like you actually don't have to be.
Yeah.
You can change. You can change.
I love
Like,
that. You can always better yourself. Always.
uh-huh. You can always change. You can always
Scott,
change.
dude, I'm having so much fun with you, man. You're such a
Yeah.
good dude.
Your wife's dinner is gonna be like, it's
Yeah,
whatever.
it's
Ah.
they've already started. I'm gonna have to drive there later. They've already left. She already came. It's like, we're leaving. I'm like, okay, have fun. Okay, I always ask this. This is a question I think for the past month I've asked, and I really like this question. I have heard that we should live like we were trying to impress our 5-year-old self and having our 80-year-old self being grateful for the life we lived. Are you living that life?
Holy smokes, man.
I know I'm getting way too deep with these interviews lately, but
I love it.
I just
I
love getting
love
to know
it.
you guys.
Oh, this is huge. Can you put that question back up for a second? Not because
Absolutely. Let me go
I
back to
need
it.
to read again.
I have heard that we should live like we are trying to impress our 5-year-old self and having our 80-year-old self being grateful for the life we lived. Are you living that life?
Yeah, I'd say so. I would say that 5 years ago, when I was 25, I think that's when I met my wife,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on a I wasn't in a good headspace, and I wasn't in a good place spiritually as well too, and just going through a ton of different stuff. And when I met my wife, it was obviously like she had a lot of major influence on me for a lot of different reasons. But I think if I were to look at my 5-year-old self and just seeing this place of restoration, and a place
Mm-hmm.
of of healing and recovery and all those wonderful things, going to counseling, working through a lot of different things, be more honest, be more transparent. For a long time, like this smile that I had, I would just hide behind that smile, right? Because it's a defense mechanism, I think, for a lot of people. It's almost as bad as saying I'm fine. It's like, are you though? Like, that's always a question that I try to ask people is like, how are you doing? And I don't just say that just to pass wind and move on. It's like I want to know, like, how are you doing? And some people don't. When you ask that question, people get like, do you want the real answer? And it's like, yes, I do.
I think so. Now you got me
I
worried.
I am Ron Burgundy. So for me, I would say like, yeah, like 5 years ago, man, I look back on what it was like 5 years ago for me, and I just saw a young guy who was just really going through a lot and was trying to figure out what he was going to do with his life, and just felt so um I guess I could say I almost felt so trapped, and I felt like I was so lost. Um, because I was in a ministry position for a while. I left to go and learn about church planting. It didn't work out so well for me, and I started working at a grocery store, and then I started slugging bricks, for a bricklaying company. And I was like, man, I thought I was supposed to be like in ministry, and it hit me. It hit me really hard. It was a really tough couple of years for me to like get through that. And I remember even some of my pastor friends, like the church I was going to, one of the guys, he's like, I actually thought for a while, I kept saying to some of our staff, he's like, I think Scotty's depressed. And I'm not trying to say that just to make it seem like to throw that out there. He's like, I'm genuinely concerned for him. Like, I think he's actually really depressed. And honestly, Tyson, I had no idea, but I totally was. And if I were to look at myself 5 years ago to where I am now, the direction that I'm heading into, I would say, man, my 80-year-old self will say, man, I'm still learning. But I think he would be my 80-year-old self, if I can see into the future, and maybe my beard will be long and gray, and I won't have any hair. I already lost that on my head.
All
But
right.
yeah, I did. It's my dad's. It's the Burton bald spot, and it got in the front of my head. It usually is in the back, right? But mine got up in the front, and so I'm like, I'm not doing that. I cannot pull that off. But I think my 80-year-old self would be like, you're doing good. Just keep going. Just keep
I like
going.
that.
Keep trusting. So.
And just so you know, I don't know if you can see the chat, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 comments about laughing at farts.
That's amazing. I love it.
You're sitting here talking about your 80-year-old self, and you're being all inspirational. All they're talking about is him just saying, "Yeah, I still laugh at farts."
It looks like my Zoom meetings with my junior high students at one point. It's I'm a youth pastor, so I'm so used to this.
Yeah.
Oh wait, these are older guys. Okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
these are like middle-aged men. I don't know why I think it's so funny.
Oh,
These
that's so
guys
funny.
kill me.
Oh, it's
We
too
were
funny. I
like
love it.
a couple of weeks ago, we were talking, and all of a sudden we started talking about steak, and literally for half an hour it was all about steak. And I'm like, and
Oh
we moved
man.
on a long time ago on screen, but everyone in chat, oh dude, I love this community. It's just so much fun to me. So what are your goals? I mean, what do you have in the future? What do you want to happen?
That's a great question. I remember when Emily and I actually wrote out a bunch of goals that we wanted to have, and it's in one of my Bibles. I can't remember which one it is in. You're like, how many do you have? Too many. Apparently, but we wrote out our goals, and a couple of them were just like, I think one of them was like to, be a dad, have, and so we checked that off. To have like, 4 kids, still working on it. Yeah, and I think some other goals is just to be in a good place, like I want to have more joy. I think I know it's something that we all strive for, but I really just want to grow in my joy in the Lord, and let that impact my life. But other things I want to grow in, I just want to grow in what I'm doing,
Mhm.
and as a youth pastor, as a husband, as a father. I really just want to grow in those areas. Another thing I really want to be better at is being a better friend to people. I think,
Oh, that's a good one too.
the last 2 years have, like online is really great. Like this is fantastic. Like you and I met because of the season, and
Right?
it's been amazing. But you're like, man, like there's so many other friendships that you have that are local, and you just don't want to lose those friendships. So I think for me, it's like I just want to be a more intentional friend, and I think that's something, speaking of the word intentional, I think that's how I want to be more intentional with my family, with my wife, with my community, like my church family, and I really want to grow in that. Apart from those things, I think just like, if I'm doing like the beard review stuff, I just want to keep having fun doing it, and
Oh, that's the whole point of doing it.
yeah, and I really don't want to focus on, I feel like I want to be careful how I say it, but I just see so many people complaining about their channels. So many people complain about different, reviewers. So many people just seems like they just have nothing better to do than sit in the backyard and just talk smack about people. And I'm like, man, I just want to focus on just making fun content for people to enjoy.
Mhm.
And so if that number goes from 280 to like 6,000 or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. But it's like I just want to make content that companies like Copper Johns can use on their website, or showcase to people, to get people drawn to you guys, and just do something fun for companies. Like, and that's just my thing. Like
Yeah.
I've always been about that. Like every review that I've ever done, I've never asked a dime from anybody. I mean, product is money to you guys for sure, but like if I purchase it, I purchase it and I'll review it. If someone gives it to me to review, I'm going to review it. Like I just want to support you guys, and that's just what I want to have always in the back of my mind, or on the front of my mind as well too. When I'm doing this, is just remember what you're doing it for. It's not for you. It's not to draw people to you. It's to draw people to these companies that you're talking about. So that's
To go
that's my
back
thing.
to, I loved everything you said. Yeah, look at Ryan. Ryan says, Ryan, your joy really shines through your videos. Absolutely.
Oh, I appreciate that, Ryan. That's so nice of you to say that. Thank you.
So I I'm going to go back to what one of the first things that you said is be intentional.
Yeah.
We have 5 minutes until this is supposed to be over, dude. This is cruise. We still have would you rather, but I'll ask this question and then we'll do would you rather. Then we'll have to be
Good.
done because I have family stuff too. Do you find that since COVID, you have lost not friendships, but the strength of your friendships outside in your world, so to speak, not in the beard community, but outside? Because I find that I have to be
Mhm.
intentional about going and calling or texting or going next door and giving them cookies or brownies or something, and just make sure that they know they're loved. I know that sounds lame, but someone literally just brought us a ham, like a full-grown just ham, and bunch of candy, and they
Wow.
just said, "We just want to just let you know that we love you." And how cool is that? I mean, it's just like it was
Yeah.
the nicest thing ever, and I felt grateful that they did that. I felt connected again, and I'm like, we need to do more of that. And that's why when you said that, it triggered like a memory. I'm like, I do need to be better like that. Be more intentional with
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
neighbors and let them know that we care
Yeah.
about them.
Yeah. Honestly, brother, I can say it. Like, I think, yeah, absolutely. I think it has been a real struggle to stay connected with people because this whole thing in
So
general,
hard.
it's not just been like a medical thing. Like
Mhm.
we've in Canada at least too, and in the States, there's
You
two
were a little
sides to
you were hit a little harder too,
we
like
yeah
when
well
a
we
kid from
yeah
government standpoint, all that kind of
yeah
stuff.
yeah yeah like it's been really tough, I think, as a Canadian to see the States and how everyone is so different, and you're just like, when are we going to be there?
Mhm.
And we've just actually been like the mandates and stuff like that. Like the only time we have to wear a mask is when we are in transportation. So it's like, if you're on a public transportation, like the bus or the train
Mhm.
or taxi, whatever. Um, so, but we just got through that, and it's been a couple of weeks now, which it's been awesome. It's been
Right.
so good, actually. It's been so great for the beard, but it's also too.
Mhm.
It's been like so good to see people's faces in it. And again, like if someone wants to wear a mask, by all means, do that. That's totally fine. Totally fine. No judgment at all.
No, it
Um,
should be the person's choice.
it should be
Mhm.
absolutely, and it's been, but it has been tough. And it's been tough on families. It's been tough for us to be able to have conversations with people. And it's just, it's yeah. I would say like it has been a really big struggle. And I think all of us have played into this somehow, where we can all relate to this, where it's like you thought you knew that person, and then all of a sudden this thing all happens, and that person changed, or you changed, you didn't really realize it,
Mhm.
and how it's really affected us in a very strange way. And I really do say that, like, it's been it kind of feels like someone took us in a blender or like in a shaker, and just and then you're walking out of it being all dizzy, being like, what just happened? Like the fact that we're
Yeah.
not wearing masks right now, I'm like, was that 2 years ago? Oh, I've had two kids in the last 2 years. That's
Yeah. It's so
weird.
true.
Like, yeah. And it's like, but then there's people that you haven't seen for like 2 years, and you're like, how have you been? And it's like,
Mhm.
why am I asking that question when I never asked it during those 2 years, Or so I don't know. But it's not something to eat yourself up with, because everyone failed in this area. Like we all did. But I think what it's taught us in a lot of ways is we have to, if we want to actually be intentional with people, it's a two-way street. You have to show people that you care. But if they don't want that, then that's their decision,
Yeah.
right? So, but
But
it's
that's
it's
what I
tough.
mean is
And
on my
I
side, I thought I needed it better.
Yeah, but honestly, man, like I will be the first one to say it. I think yeah, these last 2 years have been tough on friendships. And what your normal was is no longer a normal. And I think it's kind of a wake up call for people to be, no, if you want to be a true friend, you've got to show it. If you want to be
Yeah.
if you really say you care about people, you
You
can't
gotta show it.
just, yeah, you got to show it, right?
Mhm.
It's funny how even the Bible talks about this, where it's like, it's more in the sense of like, about your faith, but it's not just about knowing the word, it's about doing it, right? And
Isn't there a
that's what
scripture? Now,
well, it's John.
no,
I
isn't
believe
there a
it's,
scripture that says faith
yep,
without works is dead?
yeah. And also too, like in the Gospel of John, where he says, or I think it's in First John, where he says, don't just be hearers of the word, but be doers of the word.
There you go.
And that hit me so hard over these last 2 years, because it says, like, if this is what I truly believe in, I can't just say it, and have this for memory, and whatnot. I gotta actually show it.
Mhm.
And so it's been a tough 2 years. But there's also a lot of great things to be thankful for through those 2 years, right? Like a lot of the lessons that you learned, a lot of things that you've come out of this year going, I never realized how much I didn't care about people until these 2 years. And now it's like I'm caring about people more. Or I never realized how, I don't know, you can just go on a bunch of different things. And we have time, so
Well,
I
I
don't,
feel
I
like
don't want
I'm
to
a
keep
better
talking.
dad
But
and a better husband because Book of James. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, because I like truly, I almost passed away, and because because I didn't, I feel a lot more closer to my wife, and I feel
yeah,
like a lot of things happened because I felt like I wasn't prepared. So that if something happens, I feel like I'm a little more. They're
yeah,
more like I know they're going
yeah,
to be taken care of better. But
yeah,
a lot of things open my eyes for sure that way.
yeah. And you know what? It's funny that you say that, because there's a quote from this guy named Tim Keller, and it's always stuck with me. But he says, "Death is like the smelling salts to a
Oh,
person,
so true.
and it wakes you up. It
Hmm.
wakes you up big time." And I know that for me too. Like I lost my dad almost 4 years ago to cancer, and I think about that every day, being like, man, like his even just himself, like he changed so much, where he appreciated life so much more. He was a great dad, but like his whole, like you just see like his demeanor changed so much. Even his relationship with the Lord, it changed so much. And that's what it does, right? It wakes you up. So that's a good thing to be thankful for, right?
Hmm.
Like that, honestly, like the God woke you up in a lot of ways, to be more thankful, to be more appreciative of the things that you have here. But yeah, death is something that it's like, until you're in its presence, right? You think you're invincible, and all of a sudden it shows up, and then you're like, oh man, I've got no time. Like you're not
No,
invincible.
yeah,
That's the thing, right?
you
So,
really are vulnerable.
oh,
Uh,
100%.
I can enunciate. You really are vulnerable. My
Oh yeah,
wife always makes
100%.
fun of me. She's like, Tyson, you need to start enunciating better. I'm like, I'm trying. All right. Would you rather? Since it's past our
Oh,
dude, it went over an hour already. I apologize. I know we always say an hour, so
well, let's do this thing.
all right. So would you rather only be able to wear clown shoes or
Oh,
not to be
okay.
able to wear shoes at all?
To not wear shoes at all. I don't wear socks. I'm barefoot right now.
Oh,
When
really?
when it is spring, I am in my Birkenstocks until it starts to snow again.
Really? So
100%.
are you the short guy too? Always wearing shorts?
No, so I actually stopped wearing shorts when I did landscaping for a lot of summers, and I used to get like that awful, awful boot tan. But like I used to wear the boots that were like
Yeah.
the high
Uh-huh.
ankle ones, and I had the worst tan ever. And I think I had a bunch of people at church being like, "Dude, like it looks like you're wearing socks," and I'm like, so from that day on, I stopped actually wearing shorts and just wore pants, and I have just stuck with that. So I'm not really a shorts guy. Like I have nice, nice calf muscles, but other than that, I don't really, I don't
Yeah.
like wearing
My
shorts. It feels
calves are
weird.
sexy. My calves are
Yeah,
sexy.
I don't know if they're like dancy nice, but like,
Would you rather completely be in, or would you rather be completely invisible for one day, or be able to fly for one day? If I can talk.
you know what? I would fly. I have a fear of flying because I have this fear of falling. I think
Uh
that's
huh.
my thing. So I think I'd rather actually be able to fly. I think being
Oh, a
invisible
hundred
is kind of.
percent.
I know if someone says invisible, just hear me out when I say this. I kind of feel like it's a little bit creepy. Like
Yeah,
I can just
super creepy.
it's just a little bit odd. It's
Uh
like
huh.
you're all I can think of is Ghost. Like in the pottery, this the pottery scene is the worst scene in all of cinema. 100%. Have you seen that movie? You've seen this
Yeah.
movie, right?
Oh yeah. Have I seen it? It's Patrick Swayze. I mean, please.
Patrick Swayze. Oh
Matt,
man.
uh, we've talked a lot about parenting. We talked a lot about faith. We talked a lot about bettering ourselves and our family. So that's what you missed. It's been a really good conversation. I appreciate it.
The question, math or fish? I would assume
You
fish.
can't see me.
John
Uh,
Cena. It's
yeah.
John Cena.
Oh, what I actually showed my wife. If you YouTube John Cena prank call, holy
I love
crap!
it. I think it's
It's the
hilarious.
funniest thing ever.
It's so mean, but it's
Yeah.
so funny at the same
Well,
time.
she's
It's
like,
so good.
"Hi, do you believe in the military?" After she's already texted, like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I thought you were someone else." It's like, "Well, there's a person who wants to support you, John Cena."
Yeah.
It's a
I
funny
always love
thing.
I always love the reactions of the people being like,
I
"Why
know.
would you do this? How can?" They just lose it, and it's like, oh my
There's if you want to Google or YouTube, Jubal something. He's a radio show host, and
okay.
every day he someone like a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, or a coworker will give him information. Say, hey, this happened to this person a couple days ago. Will you go and just prank call him about it because they're so embarrassed? And then he does it. And it's hilarious.
That's awesome.
All
That's
right.
awesome.
Would you rather have unlimited sushi for life or unlimited tacos for life?
Tacos. I do not like fish. I mean, I have gone fishing a few times. I know I'm not. I don't have that desire to go fishing. I mean, I do. It's very peaceful.
It
But I
is.
cannot stand the smell of fish. There's just I don't know. I'd rather have tacos. Tacos is like
Dude, sushi for me all day. I love tacos and I love fish tacos, but there's
so,
something about sushi that I just love. It is.
so it's funny because we went out.
Everyone is tacos. This is nuts. I would choose
I
sushi
love it.
over.
Tacos all day. Street
Holy
tacos.
crap.
Yeah, street
Everyone's tacos.
tacos are amazing.
Street tacos are crazy.
But no, seriously though, we went out for lunch one time after church, and we went to this like basically like all you can eat like sushi place. They also had teriyaki chicken and like barbecue, I don't know, ribs or something like that. I just ate teriyaki chicken
Dude, that sounds so
the
good.
entire time. Like all these people are eating this like, and again, it's like it's sushi, right? So it's all like downed up and like there's like octopus and there's like this type of sea creature, and I'm like, I'm just gonna eat the chicken. I'm just gonna eat it because it's the only thing that's safe. It's the only thing that's safe.
The
right
only
now.
thing that's safe. Yeah, but see, we're talking about Gabe if it's free. If you could get free sushi or free tacos for the rest of your life, which one would you choose? Dude,
I love how Gabe is thinking this as a financial decision. It's just like, well,
like, dude, this
tacos,
is just
tacos, you could get 3 for like $2. Sushi
Del
is like
Taco
$100.
3 for $1 on Tuesdays.
That's insane. We went to this one place, Emily and I, and it was 3 tacos for $9. And I'm like, it was not worth it. They were not $9 tacos. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Okay. Would you rather never have another embarrassing fall in public, which by the way, the older you get, now you're only 30, but the older you get, they're no longer trips, they are falls. Or never feel the need to pass gas in public again. Now we know Brett would want to pass gas, so he would want to do fall in public.
Oh man. Well, here's the thing: is I don't think I've ever really actually had an embarrassing fall in public. So
Never,
I got older.
Like a presidential trip up to Air Force One on the. You've never been into a stadium and fallen up the stairs before?
No.
Oh, neither have I.
While holding nachos and your drink and ending up on ESPN somehow. No, honestly, I think the pass gas in public again, that'd be amazing. I'd rather not have to go through that again. Because it's just one of those things, right? Like it's like when someone's using a public bathroom and everyone can hear what you're doing in there. You're like,
yeah,
all of us know it's like toilets need to be soundproof. Why haven't we discovered that, especially for public, restrooms? Just save the guy the embarrassment.
Especially when they're coworkers and you're like, will you guys just leave the bathroom now?
Yeah. It's like I'm just gonna go home. I'm gonna go home and I'm just gonna go to the bathroom there.
Ellie, never. I gladly will crop strangers. I love Ellie. All right, last one.
It's the worst when everyone can smell it and you're like, oh, sorry.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Would you rather star in a movie or a TV series?
I feel like with Netflix, I would say TV series.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I feel like movies, and it's not to say COVID had a humongous impact on. I think honestly, like Netflix and everything else did. Not a lot of people go to the movies as much as they probably did in the past. I feel like for like if
100%.
it would depend on the movie too. If it was like a big blockbuster one, like a Marvel movie or like the new Batman movie or something where you know people are going to want to go and see, 100%, I want to be a part of one of those movies. But if it's a TV
Oh,
series,
thanks, guys.
you never know. You never know. I think you could have a lot of fun with the TV series for sure. I go
Well,
for that.
I here's the thing: is me being I've done 20 plus plays. I want to say 24 or 25, but 24 plus plays, musicals with my son.
Really?
Oh yeah, I love theater. Like it's weird. I love it.
That's
It's one of
awesome. I had no
yeah.
idea.
And as you are rehearsing, as you are doing the show, it's like usually the run is about. So we would get paid, and so we would do about 12 to 15 shows in Ogden area. Then we'd go up to Park City. In Park City, we would go up there and do, I would say, 6 to 8 shows in Park City.
Yeah.
And as you're doing that, you build such a fun camaraderie. You're getting close, and as you act, you're kind of letting your vulnerability out. You're being vulnerable, and so you create a close niche group. And I think doing TV shows would be like that. That's why I say that.
Okay.
Sorry, way too much information.
I had no idea. This is like this new thing I just discovered about you is that you do plays. I think that's amazing.
I love plays.
I did a monologue in high school. I did the whole Ron Burgundy like Anchorman. You know, at the very beginning when he's just like, "Hey everyone, come and see how good I look."
Yeah.
From there to the very end of his news report of the squirrel on the jet skis and stuff. I did that whole thing, and it was amazing. Like it was the only time where I was like, I could do acting. I could do it. I could do it.
No, and I never thought of that until just now. But you really do become really close friends to everyone, and that's how you're always doing stuff to support your kids. Like I said, like they do not need to live my dreams. I want them to live theirs, but I'm going to support them. And so I got to hang out with them, and me and Isaac are really, really close because
that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's newspaper when newspapers were big. But there was a newspaper article that ran about me and doing stuff with my kids in theater. It was fun.
That's awesome. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Hey, it was a star in Guys and Gals in high school, but I quit the week before. Oh, dude, that sucks, Michael.
But Michael's understudy was probably like, "Oh, finally, I can have a chance to shine."
Spider-Man or the new Batman? Spider-Man all the way.
Spider-Man all day. Let's be honest. I haven't seen the new Batman yet, but I will say this: I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I literally have like 5 comics in front of me. They're all Spider-Man.
Oh, way cool.
Yeah, I like to collect them. They're super great. But Spider-Man, that last movie, wow, that was so many emotions to the movie because there's such a nostalgic thing to it, but like how they put everything together, it was just perfect.
And did you hear they're making the one with Tobey Maguire again?
Are they going? Is it Toby they're doing it for?
No, they're going in a different universe. They're different multiverse, and so
I thought it would have been Andrew Garfield.
So did I, but they just announced that they're in talks right now with Tobey Maguire. I know, right? An older Spider-Man. I think it's gonna be cool.
What? maybe he'll redeem the 3rd Spider-Man movie because that was a train wreck.
But they were in this last one, and I thought it was really good. So the bad guys. But
I know that's what I mean though. Like now that we're seeing this like new Venom with Tom Hardy, I'm like, oh, he's so much better than what's his name, Eric? But what's his
I know exactly. He was that 70s show.
He just wasn't the right fit. He wasn't a good Eddie Brock. Like he wasn't. It just wasn't
skinny,
his movie.
Small.
Well, even Venom.
Scary.
Well, even Venom was just kind of lame, you know, like in that movie. And That'd be amazing though. If they redeem the Tobey Maguire thing, like I'm shocked. Like,
Yeah.
Gotta say though, I'm like, one of my I think it was my sister-in-law. She's like, get ready for this one line in the new movie. You're gonna love it, Scott. And it's when Andrew Garfield looks at Tobey Maguire and says, "Were you supposed to be some kind of cool youth pastor?" I loved it. I was like, "Shout out! I got it."
my whole favorite part of the whole show is when they're talking to each other and they're like, so does the webs come out of anywhere else? Like they're trying to figure out how he has his own webs coming out of his wrist.
It's such the Peter Parker teenager. So like, and like, what was it? It's like, I guys, just want you to know, like I've been in this group called the Avengers. The Avengers. That's great. Is that like a band or something?
Yeah.
Like just totally oblivious to what's going on. Like,
oh, it was such a good show. Yeah,
good.
Nick, that's the best one.
Yeah,
but I really gotta go.
You do.
You're
gonna get yelled at, and I'm gonna get yelled at. Your wife will email me or message me on Instagram.
Dude, I can talk to you all day. Obviously, you're just so much fun to talk to. But is there anything that you want anyone else to know before we take off?
Nothing really, guys. I just really appreciate you guys all just coming on here and listening and having some fun with me and Tyson. It's been great. If you guys want to, my only thing I ask is that you just go check out the channel if you haven't already. If you want,
it's in the description.
But if you guys want to, again, I know people subscribe to every single channel. But if you guys like the stuff, go and watch some videos, see what you think, and if you want to subscribe, do that. I really appreciate it, and just keep promoting the channel too. I love when people are promoting stuff that I'm not doing. It's always cool when people do stuff like that. So
I agree.
I just appreciate you guys being here and hanging out, and for Tyson for having me on here. So I'm a huge fan of Copper John. So I
appreciate you. It's been fun to get to know you a little bit better. And everyone, Absolutely. Thank you for attending. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care, guys.
See you guys. Cheers.
You